a growing number of billionaires are spending fortunes, speaking of Max.
Yeah.
This is one in many ways. It's a pretty ambitious goal, living longer or perhaps even forever. Leading the movement is tech entrepreneur Bryan Johnson, who has become famous for his strict anti-aging regime, which includes injecting himself with his young son's blood.
Yeah, it might be called life maxing.
Life maxing.
Yeah, well, this week the self-proclaimed biohacker revealed he has been diagnosed with an incurable autoimmune disease. He says his stomach is eating itself. Joining us from Singapore, doctor, author and longevity specialist Ingrid Yang. Ingrid, welcome to you. Perhaps tell us a bit about Bryan Johnson, who he is, what he does.
Right, Bryan Johnson is exactly who you said he is. He's a tech entrepreneur in the United States. He's become very well known for investing significant personal resources into a highly structured longevity, what he calls experiment. So his approach centers on using intensive data tracking, algorithms, and a medical team to optimize biomarkers associated with aging, with his stated goal of slowing or even potentially reversing his biological aging.
What then, Ingrid, does his diagnosis mean for his future health?
So the truth is, this is actually, it's not common, but it's not an uncommon disease, and it's highly manageable. Currently, what we know about the autoimmune gastritis is that it doesn't really change lifespan. It's very well managed, and especially with the very deep medical team that he has, he will likely live the same lifespan that he would have without this diagnosis.
Is it likely in any way that the autoimmune gastritis was partly caused by some of the things that he is currently doing to his body?
I think it's quite unlikely, actually. He already was diagnosed with autoimmune thyroid disease, and that was when he was 21. I think what's interesting is that he blames the autoimmune gastritis from certain stressors that he had at a younger age, but what we know is that he already had a predilection for this disease, given that we know that he has a thyroid disease. And about 30 to 40% of people who have this thyroid disease already have immune markers for autoimmune gastritis. So while all the things that he does doesn't necessarily make him more at risk, I think he's perhaps incorrectly attributing his risk to the autoimmune gastritis to some of the lifestyle things he did when he was younger.
Yeah, interesting. Ingrid, I wonder what you think about these very, very rich people who have access to whatever they want, pioneering this sort of, I guess, as you said, experiment.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question for society and humanity in general. I think the wish to defeat death is as old as humanity. It runs from mythology, from Gilgamesh crossing the world for eternal life to Ponce de Leon and his Fountain of Youth. So every era remakes the same dream from whatever it has, myth and then medicine and now data and blood panels. And Bryan Johnson is just the latest name in a very long line throughout our history. What it means in terms of, the truth is that there's certain things that all of us can do, that all of us can afford, that will help us live longer, that are research-based and evidence-based. And the rest of it, that is in some ways reserved to the very rich, all of that is just extra, and the likelihood that it'll add extra years of our life, TBD at this point, but based on the science that we have, it's not showing that the extras will really increase, change, or improve your lifespan.
Yeah, interesting. Though the wealthy investors, these tech leaders, are pouring billions of their own money into longevity research, funding companies developing for everything from gene therapies to drugs that target the aging process. Surely that's a good thing.
It can be. I think it really just depends on how we utilize that information and that knowledge, how we go about acquiring it. Are we doing it responsibly? Real science has a very specific method. So we, take a hypothesis, we test the hypothesis, we get results, and then we reproduce those results. If we're doing an experiment like Bryan Johnson, who's one individual who says he's taking all these different supplements and medications all at once, that's not how we study supplements, right? And that cannot necessarily be reproduced in someone like my physiology, who's totally different than he is, right? So I think it really just depends on the methodology that we're using it and how responsibly we deploy that knowledge.
Yeah, really interesting. Ingrid, what actually does work?
lot of great things that anyone can do. Most importantly, regular exercise, physical activity, aerobic and resistance. That's been shown to reduce all-cause mortality and preserve our function, and that's what really matters as we're aging. A Mediterranean-style diet, adequate fiber, protein intake, that also has high evidence for improving our cardiovascular and cognitive function. Get enough sleep. I really can't. It really does require a lot of discipline, but getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep is very important. It improves our metabolic, our immune regulation, and just how we feel. Stop smoking. That's the single largest modifiable risk factor. Be sure you're seeing your doctor regularly for blood pressure and lipid management. That really reduces our cardiovascular events. So important, social connection and purpose. Connecting with people, getting out there and meeting, calling our friends and loved ones, that has been shown to have appreciable mental health and longevity benefits. And I think one thing that we often miss is spending time in nature. That really reduces our stress, improves our adherence to healthy behaviors, and really just in general has been shown to support our longevity.
It's not rocket science, is it? And it doesn't need to cost $1 million. Really good to talk to you today. Ingrid Yang, thank you so much.